Okay, what we're going to do here is we're using our fire starter, and having experimented with this, it doesn't really want to light very easily using a ferro rod. So we can take a little bit of dryer lint, not much. We'll introduce it to the edge of our fire starter, and basically all we're using the lint is to get an initial flame started by using the ferro rod. And you'll see how easy the ferro rod starts the dryer lint. The dryer lint obviously burns up pretty quickly and then ignites the fire starter that we have. So the idea is that we're using one tool to activate another tool, which works in a situation when we may not have lighters or matches with us, which obviously we should. You should always have lighters and matches with you in the field, in your bag, in your fire starting kit. But if for some reason you don't, you can use the ferro rod. Again, the ferro rod isn't really good at starting the fire starter. Now, the fire starter is highly combustible. Basically, it's pine bedding mixed with wax, and which is homemade that I've created. But in order to get the combustible fire starter to ignite, we need to create an open flame. And that's why we use the dryer lint, because the dryer lint's just incredibly combustible, and it just lights up with using the ferro rod. Again, folks, experiment. Do your homework. Practice this stuff in a controlled environment. You know, I'm using a cookie sheet here, but do this in a controlled environment. I wouldn't recommend you do it inside like I'm doing, but get proficient at lighting your fires using the ferro rod and create different ways to do it. Why couldn't we just use a bunch of dryer lint? Well, dryer lint in my kit, that's very, very valuable material. That's how I can get my initial fire started using the ferro rod. I don't need the dryer lint if I'm going to light this with a lighter. Okay, this is highly flammable, and it burns for a long time, and it creates enough heat to dry out the other tinder and the wood that you're putting around this to create your fire as you gradually build your fire. This combustible material here, this fire starter, we can light that with a lighter, or we can use dryer lint. But if we're going to just use a lighter, we don't need the dryer lint. So the dryer lint to me is valuable commodity. I want to save that if I can for a rainy day. Save that for when there's no other way to start my fire. I may be doing flint and steel. The dryer lint will work just fine with that. It's the fire starter that I'm using that will actually create my campfire, or my emergency shelter fire that I need to help keep me warm in a bad situation. And you'll see how long it burns. It's just incredible that, you know, this is stuff that I've created, and I think that anybody, especially in the world of the shinobi, should be able to do this. This should be part of your training. This should be part of your skill set. And what I did is I'm stacking concepts. Okay, so I based this off of the basis that I didn't have a lighter or matches, which I do, but so I was forced to use my ferro rod. Through training and experience, I know that the ferro rod's not going to light the fire starter very likely. I mean, I've tried. It just doesn't want to light without an open flame. So I do, through experience, know that using the dryer lint, I just needed a little piece, and I put it next to my fire starter combustible material here. I put it next to it, did my sparks, lit the dryer lint up, which in turn lit the combustible materials up. And this combustible material will burn for a long time. You mix it up a little bit and kind of stir it up, and wow, the fire just keeps growing. It lasts for a long time. With the wax mixed with the pine bedding, we've created a very effective modern shinobi way of starting our fires, our campfires, emergency fires, whatever you want to call them. Fire to keep you warm and keep you alive. Again, this has a very extended amount of burn time, which is what we want. Because some of the stuff that you may be trying to ignite may be wet. So this has that burn time that we need in order to dry out the grass, dry out the small twigs, and build that fire up. And just keep building it and building it and building it. And if you need to, you stir up your combustible material, your fire starter, and voila, you extend the flame even longer. So this is the Gray-Bearded Ninja. Again, we're just working on ways to survive, ways to stack the odds in our favor by using stuff that we can make at home. This is homemade fire starter. Simply wax melts, and pine bedding from the pet section of Walmart. And of course, everybody's favorite, dryer lint. Most of us have plenty of this. I save mine, I collect it, and use it as a fire starting combustible material. So folks, hope this helped you out. Hope this gives you some ideas, expands your mind a little bit. We spend a lot of time talking about fire starting, and there's a reason for that. Because in a bad situation, if you're out in the wilderness or you're out in the country, whatever you refer to it in the area that you live in, for us, we call it out in the country, and it's cold, I need to do two things immediately. Number one, build a shelter, then build a fire to stay warm and to stay dry. If I can't do that and I can't maintain and keep my core body temperature where it needs to be, then I'm just putting myself at risk and in more danger. So this is why we focus on this so much. This is why we focus on fire starting skills. Using a Ferro Rod, the back of my poor beat up CRKT, dryer lint, and homemade fire starter. So I can make bags of this, as many bags as I want. I can make it in any color that I want. And the idea is that we're stacking the deck in our favor. This is the Gray-Bearded Ninja. Glad you spent the time to listen, to watch, and to learn. Hopefully this will save your life someday if necessary.